Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Hello and welcome to a special discussion for The Wire. A few weeks ago, 5 leading members of the Muslim community met at their own request the Sarsanghchalak of the RSS to discuss Hindu-Muslim relations and to see if they can find a way of resolving the animosities and differences between the communities. Joining me now to explain what sort of response they got, the challenges they face and their hopes for the future are 2 of those 5. They are, in fact, the former Vice-Chancellor of Jamia Millia Islamia and the former Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, Najeeb Jung, and the former Chief Election Commissioner, S.Y. Quraishi. Dr. Jung, let me start with precisely that. Why did the 5 of you decide that at this particular point of time you wanted to meet the Sarsanghchalak? Because as you told the Indian Express this morning, you met him just a year and a half or 2 ago before COVID. So why was there a need for another meeting?
I met him in September of 2019 with the same idea that this initiative should be taken because things were getting a little bad. And we had a very, very nice meeting even then, about an hour, hour and a half. And we had decided that we would take this initiative. And he was, again, very kind and he entirely agreed with me at that point of time. And we said that we'll meet again. And it was decided that he would invite me to Nagpur in the June of 2020. But unfortunately, the pandemic had come in and all that was postponed. Now, at this point of time, we felt that things were perhaps worse. With the Nupur Sharma statement and the reaction of the Muslim community in Ujjain, etc. And then we had the incidents in Karnataka.
So there was an even greater need now than there was in 2019.
Indeed. I mean, we got very anxious at that point of time and decided to write to him that we want to meet and renew that contact and perhaps decide on how to take this forward.
And he readily agreed?
Oh, yes. I mean, I was overseas and I wrote that letter and within a few weeks we got the response.
Dr. Quraishi, according to the Hindustan Times, it says a host of issues pertaining to maintaining amity between different communities and faiths and steps to ensure there is no polarization and conflict were discussed between the 2 of you. Can you give me a sense of the sort of issues that came up?
You know, as Najeeb mentioned, we had been discussing for some time the community's concern and our concern about what was happening to the community. And we thought dialogue is the way forward. We debated and discussed amongst ourselves and we wrote in. So obviously the issue that we raised was that we are concerned the way Muslims are being treated all around and what is it that we should be doing. We asked him. He was very patient, surprisingly, and very happily listened to all of us intently. And then we told him about basically the Indian Muslim insecurity. That was the main topic.
So the main idea was to explain to him that Indian Muslims feel insecure and worse still, they feel they are not being treated properly.
Exactly. You said it.
And you said this fairly fully to him? You didn't hold anything back?
Not at all.
Let me, before I come to the details of how he responded, ask you first, Dr. Jung, why did you think, both now and earlier in 2019, that he would be receptive? After all, just a year ago, September the 6th, 2021, this is what he said. The word Hindu is equivalent to the rich heritage of our motherland, ancestors and culture. And then he added, every Indian is a Hindu. That last part doesn't include India's minorities, of which the Muslims are the biggest part.
No, I think to him, it does include Muslims. Hindu dharma to him is taken on a very large canvas. And he explained to us that in the Vedic dharma, we include everyone, it's all encompassing. And so Muslims and Christians and Sikhs are all part. We are prepared to accept any, the word is paddhati, religious way that you adopt. So if the Muslims want namaz and roza and hajj and the Christians want to go to church, we have no objection.
But this is worse, because if they believe, the RSS Sarsanghchalak believes that Muslims are Hindus, then he's denying them the right to identify as a separate religion. Surely that would be offensive to many Muslims.
No, he defined that further. He says that, look, you can call yourselves whatever. You can call yourselves Bharati Muslims. You can call yourselves Hindustani Muslims. He is not calling you Hindus. But in his mind, we are all part of this larger sort of family that is India and therefore Hindus.
But then why not call it Indian rather than Hindu? Hindu is a religion, Indian is a nationality. Why not call it Indian?
I agree with you, but that's his definition, that Bharati Musalman suits everyone.
Did you have any qualms about the fact that he believes everyone is a Hindu, including Muslims? Do you have personal qualms about that?
I have no qualms in being called a Bharatiya Musalman.
But he's not saying Bharatiya, he's saying Indian. He's saying Hindu, forgive me.
No, as the conversation took place,
he explained
this came across. And one of us made it very clear that, you know, you have to be clear about who is a Hindu. And he said, yeah, we are all Hindus and you are Bharatiya Hindus. Yeah.
But
Bharatiya Musalman, sorry.
But, okay, so he redefined the word Hindu to mean Bharatiya. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, he says that this is a very large canvas and we include you in this.
If I may reinforce that, because actually this came up. One of us very clearly said, okay, look, Indian Muslim will not accept to be called Hindu Muslim or Hindu Christian, Hindu Muslim. So he said, well, the Bharatiya Musalman, no problem. So we got the impression that earlier definition of everybody being a Hindu has now been changed in his mind, or at least that's what he said, as a Bharatiya or Indian. So Indian Muslims, no problem. Bharatiya Muslim, nobody has any problem.
But this is very important. You got the impression
that we discussed it. We said it very categorically that it's not acceptable. And he says, all right, Bharatiya Muslim. Perfect.
So he's redefined it from Hindu Muslim to Bharatiya Muslim.
Yes.
He's changed religion to nationality.
Yeah, that's what happened in our conversation. So I hope.
So this is a very important change that you're signaling. It's a very important change, not just in the terminology that the Sarsanghchalak uses, but also through that terminology in the concept.
Yes.
Now, Muslims in India are Indian Muslims, Bharatiya Muslims, not Hindu Muslims.
Exactly. That's our understanding. I think it was very categorical.
Let me put something else that he said. Again, in July 2021, according to the Hindu, this is what she said, there have been organized attempts to increase the Muslim population since 1930 for the community to become a dominant force. Now, you've written one of the most highly regarded books on the Indian population, and you've said it repeatedly. There is absolutely no way that India's Muslim population, which is just under 15%, can become the dominant force. It simply is impossible.
Yes.
And yet, not only does the Sarsanghchalak believe it can become the dominant force, he's also suggesting it wants to become the dominant force. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, in fact, I took the liberty from my group that I'll present him my book, because they would have thought maybe I'm promoting my book.
The population book.
Population book. And I said, look, I want to get you to read this book, because the propaganda that Muslims are going to overtake Hindus and very soon is totally wrong and baseless. In fact, it is true that Muslims have the highest birth rate, but that was never more than, difference was never more than one child even 30 years ago, which has now come down to 0.3, because Muslims are adopting family planning much faster than the Hindus. And then I pointed out that in my book, I've got a mathematical model developed by Professor Dinesh Singh, who was Vice Chancellor of Delhi University, great mathematician. And he has said that even in 1000 years, there is no questions of Muslims overtaking Hindus.
Did Mr. Bhagwat accept this point that even in 1000 years?
Yeah, you know, he registered everything. And in fact, what convinces me that he registered everything, then I say, you know, the propaganda, hum 5, hamare 25, hum 4, hamare 40 is totally baseless. Because in India, you accuse us of polygamy. In India, polygamy is not possible. He says, how? I said, why? Because you must have heard of gender ratio. For 1000 men, there are only 940 women. So 60 bachelors are looking for their first wife. How will I get my second?
Did he accept the second point as well?
He laughed heartily on that.
But this is very interesting. As both of you have indicated, he's changed his formulation and now accepts that Indian Muslims are Indian Muslims, not Hindu Muslims. That's an important change in formulation, not just terminology. But you're also suggesting that your discussion may have convinced him that the claim they make that Muslims want to become the dominant share of the population is a mistaken and impossible claim.
Yes.
You got the feeling that he accepted this?
Absolutely. No, the fact that he reacted so with the warm-hearted laughter on that, because that means he registered, he heard me carefully. And in fact, I said, please get it examined by your people. And I'm willing to come and discuss.
Well, this is very important because both of you have established for the audience that on critical things that matter to Indian Muslims, the belief that they are Indian, not Hindu Muslims, and this false claim that they're determined to become the dominant share of the population, on both these, the Sarsanghchalak seems to have accepted what you're saying. In one case, pretty clearly, by changing his formulation. In the other, by laughing when you gave the book and conceding that the point you were making was true. Let's then leave the past behind. Let me ask you instead, Dr. Jung, what were the issues that he brought up from his side? Because this is a conversation. You brought up your issues about Muslims feeling insecure, believing that they're not being treated properly. What issues did he bring up? Because I presume he would have brought up issues from the Hindu standpoint.
Yes, I will tell you. But first, you have actually clarified the nub of the problem. That the Sarsanghchalak is actually thinking much the way that you and I have been thinking. The change that you were talking about, that he believes and accepts what we have said. Now,
that change is particularly important because I think I'm right in saying it's the first time both of you have made it clear in any of the interviews you've given. And I think it's important for the audience to realize that your meeting with the Sarsanghchalak brought about two very important changes in the way he thinks. Now tell me, what were the issues he raised from the Hindu point of view?
There were concerns expressed by both of us. He was very clear that, look, we accept Muslims, like I said before, in the larger fold of Vedic Dharma. You can practice what you want. But he says we feel aggrieved when, you know, a large number of you call us kafirs. You are not accepting us. And that's not fair. And I tried to explain to him that Abrahamic religions have this issue. That, you know, it's my path and that's the right one. And he said, yes, and you have to explain this to your community. And this is very important because we all agreed that this is something that the Muslim community and the Christian community have to accept, that there is just not one path. There are many paths coalescing and converging to one God. And that is what we said to him.
So this is an instance where the point he made from a Hindu standpoint was readily acceptable to you.
Yes, absolutely. And after the conversation with him, we have met a large number of Muslims, including clerics. And everyone agrees that, you know, misrepresentation of the Quran is very common.
And calling Hindus kafir is wrong.
Absolutely wrong. The Quran is very clear. It says, to your path, yours, and to me, mine. There is no compulsion in religion.
What were the other issues he brought up from the Hindu standpoint?
Yes, I will tell you. He said, look, you need to understand that we are very sensitive to the cow. The cow is our mother. You don't understand that the Hindu psyche gets very upset when you don't show sensitivity on the issue of cows.
What does sensitivity mean from his standpoint?
Well, you know, you go and want to kill a cow, you're not sympathetic to a cow, you object to gaushalas or whatever.
So is he saying that beef eating should stop in India?
He said very clearly that we know the compulsions in Goa or in the northeast, but in the rest of India, we certainly mean that beef eating should stop. We are sensitive to that.
He's asking Muslims to voluntarily give up eating beef.
he indirectly is asking Muslims, and I don't think that the Muslims should object to it. I mean, I as a person can say certainly that over 90% of Muslims would agree with this. After all, keeping the sentiment of the Hindu community, if you want to live in peace, is very essential.
Was there a third point from the Hindu standpoint?
I don't recall anything. Basically, he said that, look, at the higher level, we know.
The newspapers say he also brought up the issue of jihad.
No, we actually brought it up. We said that we don't like this thing of being called a jihadi. I mean, how do you call a Muslim a jihadi at every corner that he crosses? We have lived our lives here. We have fought for this country. This is an absurd accusation. We feel very hurt.
Did he agreed with that. Did he understand?
He understood it absolutely.
So this is another third point where he understood what you were saying.
He understood every point that we made.
Let me then put this to you, because it seems from what you're saying that you've actually had a very thorough but also a very understanding discussion with him. He's accepted 2 of your critical points, you've accepted 2 of his critical points, so clearly there was a meeting of minds.
Yes.
The question I want to ask you is this: were you convinced by what he was saying and by his response? Is this a man whose sincerity you can trust? Because at the end of the day, it's his word, but you have to believe it if you're going to go forward. So do you believe what he's saying?
Yeah, from his body language, from the way that he listened to us with rapt attention. He's a very good listener. He did not interrupt any of us at any time. And from his general expression, it seemed that he's sincere about it. And in any case, we can't do anything about it. If he doesn't really mean it, what can we do? So, but we'll see. But the fact,
so this is
just 1 minute, Karan, the fact that our meeting took place a month ago, and he mentioned his desire to reach out, and the fact yesterday he visited a mosque and a madrasa, is actually exactly in the same spirit in which he had a discussion with us.
In fact, according to the Economic Times, since June of this year, he's had 4 such meetings, one of which was the one with you in August. A second one is the one that happened at the madrasa and the masjid yesterday. But there were apparently 2 earlier ones, one in Mumbai and another one in Ghaziabad. So he's had, in the last 4 or 5 months, a whole series of meetings with different members of the Muslim community. Is that, in your eyes, a sign of his sincerity?
Yes, I would think so, because it is very consistent. Only thing is, the people question us that, Najeeb mentioned, he said the same thing 2-3 years ago. But what is happening on the ground? So people say
What's your answer to that?
No, our answer is that he himself said actually. He said, okay, look, people think that, my word is law, where actually there are lots of segments in my society also. Some people criticize me for this kind of line. And if I don't get any support, I feel very vulnerable. And I will make my efforts, and it will take some time to percolate. He said that.
But this is the problem that I want to come to. Because you spoke to the RSS Sarsanghchalak in the belief that this man can influence the way not just Hindus, but the government, which is an ally of his, behaves and responds. But he himself is suggesting to you that I don't have that influence. I may end up agreeing with you. You may have convinced me. I've convinced you. But whether I can convince others is the problem. Let me explore that, because for many, that will be the touchstone by which the assurance you've been given are believable. For instance, a lot of the problems Muslims face are at the hands of the BJP. Its leaders, sometimes its ministers, often its supporters. They're accused of love jihad. They are the victims of cow lynching. They are publicly called Babar ki aulad, right? Abba Jan is how the chief minister of UP refers to them. And for the rest of the time, the home minister tells them, go to Pakistan. Do you believe that a word from the Sarsanghchalak can stop this?
Karan, what he said was that I will endeavor. I have limitations, but I shall try. At the highest level of the Sangh, we have decided that this is the only way forward. So I believe that the effort from his side, and I refuse to believe that his influence is extremely limited. No, I think that he does exercise influence, although in a public meeting he may not say, X, Y, Z. So that's a point to which he will stop.
But behind the scenes he can.
I am sure that he will use his influence to improve relations.
So you do believe it when he says, I will endeavor, I will try?
I am 100% convinced of his sincerity in this. I fully understand where you are coming from when when the ministers of the BJP and when the so-called hotheads make all kinds of claim. We raise the issue of Dharam Sansad. We raise the issue,
I'll come to that in the moment time, but you said something very important at the beginning of that answer. You said a decision has been taken at the highest level of the RSS. So this is not the Sarsanghchalak as an individual. This is the RSS as an entity, as an organization, as an institution.
He clearly said that at the highest level in the RSS, we have discussed this issue threadbare. He also said that please understand that India has 20% minorities, and we don't think that 20% is a minority. So therefore, you have to be part of this growth process if India is to go along.
Let me put you another order of problem that Muslims face. This time, it's a direct result of the Modi government's policies and the Modi government's actions, and I'll limit myself to just two examples, the Citizenship Amendment Act and the National Register of Citizens. Now, both of these are actually something the Sarsanghchalak has defended in literally so many words. He's spoken publicly in support of them. He hasn't criticized them. So what does he say on these issues? Because these matter enormously to Muslims.
No, we didn't discuss these issues because there are so many issues. We focused only on basic issue of insecurity, and at the same time we said that this should not be a one-off meting. We would like
I'll come to that more time, but you see, you didn't discuss the CAA.
No, we didn't discuss this.
Why?
No, because there was no time, because we were engrossed in the discussion and it was going on the right lines.
That I can understand.
We were not going with the menu.
Absolutely. I can fully understand that you can't bring up every subject under the sun. But nonetheless, for many Muslims, the inherent discrimination in the Citizenship Amendment Act is deeply offensive and hurtful.
Absolutely.
Do you believe that he will now exercise his influence and actually change his mind on this subject to reverse it?
No, we would, if we meet him again or his friends and allies, we will surely raise this issue in more detail.
And you're hoping
yes,
that he will use his influence, probably behind the scenes, to convince the government, don't go ahead with this.
We would like to hope so, because we actually believed whatever he was saying.
You used a lovely phrase, we would like to hope so.
Yes.
Do you genuinely believe he'll do it, or is it just a hope?
No. It's a hope, and it's also a belief, because I told you, and he...
So it is a genuine belief?
Repeatedly, because he sounded very sincere about it. You know, after all, we deal with humans also all the time.
Absolutely, no, but it's just the interesting thing is that obviously he's left such an impact on you that you believe that even on a subject like CAA, where he's publicly defended it, he can now change his position.
Yeah, that's our hope, because we haven't yet discussed it with him.
You brought up Dr. Jung, the Dharam Sansad. In fact, in December from Haridwar, we heard blood-curdling calls for a Muslim genocide. After that, there were Hindu priests saying that they would rape Muslim women themselves. Now, up till now, I've never heard the Sarsanghchalak raise his voice in criticism. He's been silent on this subject. What's his position today?
There are two things. One, he clearly said that we are against all this. We do not support this. He was absolutely categorically clear on that.
But why doesn't he say that publicly?
Maybe he may not have said on this subject, but he has said on many others. I raised this 2 years ago to him, that the voice of the Sarsanghchalak must be heard in the country. I said, your voice matters. That was in September 2019. And since that, repeatedly he has made statements. He said that Hindutva without Muslims has no meaning. He says India without Muslims will not be there. He said you can't look for a shivling in every mosque. So, and he has gone to book releases, which Muslims written on secular matters. So there is certainly a very positive signal. But like we have been saying, I think he understands that the process is long. The journey is going to be hard and tough even for him, because he has to take along a lot of people who have a, shall I say, a more right-wing attitude than his.
Let me put it like this. I don't believe, regrettably and sadly, that we are unlikely to hear calls for genocide again. The next time there is such a call from a Dharam Sansad or a Yeti Narsinghanand or whoever, do you believe he will raise his voice and say this is unacceptable? Do you believe that change has happened?
I can't speak for him. Having said,
give me your impression of what you think he'll do.
I think that within the Sangh, he will make efforts to understand and control what is happening in the so-called, what we used to call fringe, and it's no longer a fringe, of course. But I think he will make sincere efforts to control that.
Again, the question I put to Mr. Quraishi, I put to you. You simply think he'll do it, or has he given you a greater sense of confidence that he will do it?
I think all of us came back with a much greater sense of confidence. I would not have taken my friends back to him had I not had that sense of confidence even in 2019.
Let me put to you something else, and I suppose for many Muslims this is the most important thing of all. The deliberate marginalization of Muslims in the life of our country. According to Akar Patel and his book, Our Hindu Rashtra, Muslims are nearly 15% of the population of India, but they are only 4.9% of state and central government employees, 4.6% of the paramilitary services, 3.2% of the IAS, IFS and IPS, and perhaps just 1% of the army. Worse still, even in politics, where they did have a sizable presence in the 50s, 60s and 70s, it's down to just 27 MPs in the Lok Sabha. According to the proportion of population, it should be 74. There isn't a single state out of 28 states that has a Muslim chief minister. 15 states don't even have a Muslim minister. Are these issues where the Sarsanghchalak will say, we have to rectify this?
You know, the fact that he made a general statement that we cannot conceive of India progressing without the Muslims. This is important, and perhaps it will that you mentioned will be included in what he said, and very emphatically and perhaps repeatedly.
You know, when someone says, I cannot conceive of India progressing without the Muslims, he may simply be saying, we need them to cooperate, we need them to play their role, but not necessarily give them their fair share of reward. It's the second that's important. It's not just Muslim cooperation or an absence of Muslim hostility, but giving Muslims their fair share.
Well, that is the impression I got. When he says that we want the Muslims to be participants in India's growth story, we would like to believe that it included all that, and we will discuss it in future.
I don't mean to be at all offensive, but I suppose a thought occurring to the audience, when both of you keep saying, I'd like to believe that, I think that, are you being too trusting of this man?
No. Karan, it's very clear. We are saying the thing with certainty, the thing which we discussed. The others are only in a realm of speculation. What we haven't discussed, we don't know.
But when he says, I will endeavor, you really do believe he will?
Yes, his endeavor we do believe.
This is not just कहने की बात.
No, exactly. Whatever he said, he sounded sincere. And he said he will endeavor, and he would like Muslims to be part of the growth story. Without that, India cannot progress. He said that.
And when Muslims have to be part of the growth story, you believe he also means they have to have their fair share.
Again, we'll say, I would like to believe that because we cannot really read his mind, but general impression.
Let me put it like this, Dr. Jung. Your hope lies in the belief that Mohan Bhagwat, as the Sarsanghchalak of the RSS, can influence not just the BJP, but specifically Narendra Modi and Amit Shah. Do you think A, he can, and do you think B, he will try?
First, let me say that we don't want to leave this interview giving an impression that we are defending him in any way or we are defending the RSS. No, that's not so. Ours has been a very sincere effort to open doors and have a dialogue. I think, like I said before, that the Sarsanghchalak is in communication with government. He may not say so directly to us. Why would he share his confidences that he has shared with the Prime Minister or the Home Minister? But and like I said, that we believe that at their highest echelons of the Sangh, they have accepted the reality that Muslims in this country have to be cared for. I told him that the word that you should use for the Muslims is that Hindu Musalman ka bada bhai hai aur hamara varad hast aapke upar hai.
But you also believe that he will make every sincere effort to influence and persuade Amit Shah and Narendra Modi?
Yes, I think so. And that is why we've also devised or sort of decided to take this forward by meeting, again and devising
with him,
a most...
with
him
the
and others
Sarsanghchalak.
of his consigliaries, we will be meeting again.
The problem is this, Dr. Quraishi. Even if the Sarsanghchalak makes every sincere effort to influence the BJP, Amit Shah, Narendra Modi, why would they listen? I'll give you 2 reasons why they may not. The BJP doesn't have a single Muslim MP in either House of Parliament, and frankly, they don't care. It simply doesn't matter to them. The BJP has not fielded a Muslim candidate in any election, Vidhan Sabha or Lok Sabha from Gujarat, since 1998. In fact, the truth is the BJP is deliberately keeping Muslims at an arm's length because they believe they politically gain from that. So no matter how sincere an effort the Sarsanghchalak makes to change their thinking, if they are gaining from this distance, why would they change it?
Yeah, quite right. But let me also tell you that when we were planning to meet Mr. Bhagwat, we were also planning to request the Prime Minister to meet us. And that...
Did you?
We haven't yet, but we are trying to. We have been wanting to, and we will be writing to the PM for a similar meeting. Whatever be the result, we don't know, but we will surely seek an appointment with him. He is certainly busier than Mr. Bhagwat, and getting an appointment with him will be a lot more difficult, but we'll try.
So, when are you going to write this letter to the PM?
We could, maybe we should do it very soon, within this week, maybe.
Within this week?
Yes.
And only the PM, or will you also try and meet Amit Shah?
No, we were only planning to meet the Prime Minister.
And will it be the same 5 people again?
These 5, of course, we are now, we have got a bond, common bond, and we'll 5. But if somebody also wants to join us, we'll be happy.
So, because I think this is a very important thing, within this week you will be writing to the Prime Minister to ask for an appointment so that all 5 of you can go together to meet him. And I imagine it's the same sort of discussion you want with him that you had with the Sarsanghchalak.
Exactly, because the issues are the same.
Because this is a particularly important point. I was going to ask, why did you begin with the Sarsanghchalak and not with Narendra Modi and Amit Shah? Because they are the ones who run the country, not the Sarsanghchalak, and they are the ones whose policies and actions cause concern for Muslims. So why did you start with the Sarsanghchalak and not with the PM?
2 reasons. A, because I had met him in 2019, and this was a continuation of that, more or less. Secondly, and we spoke amongst ourselves, we believe that the Sangh is the largest body that carries a very heavy weight with the Hindu population of India, barring a few states. They carry a lot of weight. So we said that let's start with him, and it will be a continuation of our old conversation. And necessarily and compulsorily, we will meet the Prime Minister. After this meeting, let's get a sense of it. You talked about the nature of our meeting with the PM. Now, that can be slightly different because the PM is the implementer of policies. So the questions you asked have to be more blunt and direct.
To the PM?
Of course, because he is the man who's in charge. It's not the Sarsanghchalak
So
that's in
when
charge.
you meet the PM, will you bring up CAA explicitly?
I can't say what we will bring up, but we do draw up an agenda, and we will draw up all the concerns that we believe impact the Muslim community and is impacting their confidence, is putting a sense of insecurity in them.
What about the rhetoric of the BJP? Babar ki aulad, Abba Jan, go to Pakistan. Will you bring that up? Because his minister said of Qabristan Shamsan Ghat, which is what he said.
You have answered that question yourself, that we are very close to 2024. And any political party that believes that polarization will help them, it may not reduce their rhetoric in the way that we want it to. So I don't know the way the PM will actually react or not react. But we will certainly...
But this raises the question, what then is the purpose of meeting the PM? If you can't, because 2024 lurks over the horizon, get an answer that is half satisfactory to issues like CAA or the rhetoric, then what's the point of meeting him?
I would be very satisfied with an answer that is half satisfactory. I would really try and endeavor every way to lower temperatures and to improve the situation. I think the confidence of the Muslims need to be buffered up straight away. We can't afford 16–17% of the population to be having such lack of confidence and fear as they have today.
How confident are you that when you write this letter in a week's time to the Prime Minister, he'll actually agree to meet you?
No, we are not. We are not confident at all. He may not meet us, but he may.
Would it be a rebuff if he doesn't?
No. Even if it is, what can we do? In any case, we have been at the receiving end. We are quite getting used to the idea, and we lose nothing. But there is no harm in trying. We would like to try, and 50-50 chance. If he meets, very well and good. If not, it's fine.
And do you agree with the point Dr. Jung made that even though you can't identify the specific issues you'll discuss with the PM, the points will be made bluntly and in a much more forceful way than they were made to the Sarsanghchalak?
No. We were very blunt with Sarsanghchalak also about the issues on which we zeroed in. But as you pointed out, the appeasement and the lack of participation in politics and civil service, these are specific issues. We will surely take up those issues. But the broader issue of the treatment of the Muslims is overarching, and we will surely concentrate on that.
My last question, and I'll put it to both of you one by one. How do you respond to Muslims who say they made a terrible mistake meeting the Sarsanghchalak of the RSS? Many Muslims are apprehensive of the RSS, even fear it, and a few, I'm sure, dislike it. And when you go and meet the head of the organization, they might feel you've let the community down. How do you respond to that?
Two issues. We have received a lot of phone calls from the Hindus and Muslims. 90% Muslims have supported us on what we are doing, 90%. The opposition, so-called, that we get is more from people like you and me who say, why trust? You're making a mistake. Why legitimize them? Our answer to them is they're already legit. They are there. The country has accepted them. We are opening a door for dialogue and for appeasement.
And the second reason?
Did I say there were two reasons?
You did, but never mind. But you are confident that you can persuade other Muslims that this was not a mistake, that you haven't let them down?
I think so. Yeah.
Do you share that confidence that you can persuade them? Because people like Asaduddin Owaisi have gone public. Not only have they said that you made a mistake meeting the Sarsanghchalak, but they said you're elite people who don't understand the actual problems the majority of Muslims face.
The feedback which I got was 99% in favor. Everybody said that that's a good thing, the dialogue is the way forward, it's good that you met. So, we are very encouraged, and of course, Mr. Owaisi's comment that we are elitist, but we are not fools. We live in the public, we see the media, we read the papers, we meet people, we also meet people. And what we voiced were the concerns of the community, not Najeeb, mine or General Shah's. We just talked about the community.
And you're determined to carry on?
We would like to carry it forward till we hit a wall.
And you're encouraged by the fact that yesterday the Sarsanghchalak went and met Umair Ahmed Ilyasi.
Yes.
Not just at his home, but in his masjid and in his madrasa as well.
Not his madrasa, another madrasa. It's a totally different madrasa quite far away. So, which means he visited two institutions. It is quite consistent with the kind of language which he spoke when he met us.
Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.